Cynthia, and Rhonda is probably having some technical difficulties, so I just thought I would get today's party started. I love this topic that Rhonda came up with. She gets all the credit for this. Oh, look, I think Rhonda will be joining us in one hot second. I can't hear you, but I was just giving you credit for this
Hello.
awesome topic today. Hello, now I can hear you. Awesome topic. Breathe,
Please
release, and
continue.
let
Please
go.
continue. Thank you.
Well, I was just getting us started, and I was just saying that this is a great topic. Um, I think this is to me, it feels timely. And when I saw it today, getting ready for today's show, I was thinking, wow, Rhonda, Rhonda was with me on my vacation in spirit because that's basically what I did. I focused a lot on continuing to take out the trash as I've been doing in the months of June and July. And I've been doing that by doing a lot of breath work. So I'm feeling really relaxed, even though I did catch a flu for a few days on my holiday. Um, I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling like I've let go of a lot of just psychic energies that are no longer required. How about you, Rhonda? Something inspired this topic. Oh,
What inspired it was all the fear I see in people and their reacting. Because I don't feel there's any reason to be afraid. I
yeah.
just don't think there's any reason to be afraid. I don't watch the news anymore. I'm much calmer, more relaxed. And yeah, and when I am in stressful situations, I do remember to take a breath. I pause. I need to pause.
Hmm.
I mean, to stay in that peace energy, I do have to pause. And if it's something that really riles me up, I'm slowly learning to do that pause. Take some deep breaths. Tell
Yeah.
myself everything's okay, and I don't like what I saw, and that okay, I didn't like it. Just admit it, and then to breathe it out. Just let it go, because other people's fear and anxieties are not mine. It's theirs, and so I've done both. Um, but it's just
Nice.
let it go. Let go of other people's junk. That's not yours to deal with. That's
Yes.
theirs.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
that's theirs. I so often I try to present different viewpoints. And I'll give you an example. Last week I found this great video of this lady who was not, and for example, a Trump supporter. And she goes, I've never liked him and all this negative stuff. She said, but I started noticing something. The guy hasn't been in office in 2 years. And there's some there, I don't know who they are, but they are still blaming him
Hmm.
for every little thing that happens in the world. And she goes, I'm starting to take a look, because this is something you see in society as a whole. Um, when they're negative, is if somebody doesn't agree with your view, these negative people pounding, pounding. propounding all these horrible things about the other person without presenting facts.
Yeah.
And her
Yeah.
whole talk was about being aware and mindful of that, and how she was starting to change her perspective because something must be good in there if they are spending so much time, energy, and money in trying to destroy this individual.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And frankly, I that's why I mentioned fear. I think it's all evolved out of fear. And so some somebody that I got reacquainted with, I mean, from grade school, was we've reacquainted. We really don't know each other that well. It's been over 60 plus years, but we've kind of reconnected. And her response to this objective feedback was F this. I mean, I could feel the
Mm-hmm.
anger. F this. And I'm like, wow, some people are so afraid of anything new, any ideas. They're so terrified of anything not falling under their definition that they won't even listen to objectivity.
Right.
And
And
I don't know what they're afraid of. I don't know what they're afraid of. I don't care what they're afraid of, but I do care about being exposed to that kind of attitude.
yeah, and they it is not up to them to it is not up to us to understand their fear.
Yeah.
That's their resistance, and
Well,
like that
at
continued
first I was like, I
resistance.
want to, if you could provide me with some facts and help me understand why you feel so strongly. And then I breathed, released, let go over the next day. And I'm like, you know what? Uh, it's going to be the same one. I don't care to hear from this person
It
anymore.
doesn't matter. It's
It's not
not
because
your
it doesn't matter.
resistance, you know.
Yeah. Resistance to anything that isn't what they think. And I don't know. I just don't. I don't buy into that. So that's kind of what started. That's kind of how I came up with that topic,
Uh-huh.
because at first I wanted to react. You know what? I really wanted to say "f you" back, and I'm like,
The
and
difference between a
I was
reaction
going
and
to
a
say, I wanted
response.
to say "f this" response, yeah. And I'm like, oh no, 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 we're not going to do that. I'm not going to play that game. And so I had to process that hostility.
Yeah. But what a great,
It has nothing to do with the person, but I don't have, I hardly, when in all, I hardly know this person to talk like that.
yeah,
And my Facebook page says, nothing offensive. So goodbye.
yeah. And what
You,
a,
you, I don't like angry people. Who likes angry, negative people? That don't want to at least consider, oh, maybe there's a point there. And but not everybody is capable of learning, growing, and widening their view of things. They're just not capable. And I'm not going to be, I can't, how can I be judgmental about that? That's just the way they are. It's
right.
their choice.
Well,
It's their choice.
an interesting thing about social media is that we somehow manage to like lose perspective of ourselves and we end up in social media, we end up engaging with the things that we like to engage with, and then something, we stumble across something that you know that gets our goat. and and that would be a perfect opportunity to be like, oh, that's interesting, that tickled my funny bone, or that tickled my not so funny bone. I can just breathe, release, let go, and keep scrolling. But instead, many of us, including me at times, will allow ourselves to get stopped by it, hold our breath, and come out swinging and write a comment that like we weren't actually even asked to write necessarily. And really, like, who does it serve for me to be writing, F this, or I'm over it, or, buzz off on somebody else's post? Like, just
And
leave it
and
scroll
and to
on.
top it off, it's just downright rude.
Yeah.
It's just rude.
It's just rude,
Um,
but, really, like, and I think we're sort of heading in a direction, we've been talking about taking making conscious choices in our life. And I'm talking about not, am I having coffee or tea this morning? I mean
right.
conscious choices, like, does this item still serve me, or is it time to let it go? And really kind of looking
Yes.
around at your environment and, weeding out the unwanted junk that like you collected, that maybe at some point you valued it in your past, but now it no longer resonates with who you are. And I think
Yeah.
that's
So,
part of the
yeah, go
process.
ahead.
And at some point we're going to stumble across people that we also don't align with completely, where we get to
And that's
appreciate
okay.
them for reminding us that like we're on a different path, and that path is
Yeah,
diverging from
exactly.
a-holes and
Yes.
f-bombs.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, the minute and I spend way too much time on social media. I recognized that this week and actually kind of laughed at myself about it. Um, and but I'm like, I don't want I don't want those kinds of negative vibes around me. And if you can't disagree without being disagreeable, I don't want any part of that behavior.
Right.
None.
Right.
Take,
And you're not
start
asking that person
blaming
to
the
change.
world for what,
You're
yeah, it's like
removing
quit blaming
yourself.
the world for what you're disturbed about inside of yourself.
Yeah.
That, do you know this person personally
Yeah.
to be able to attack them like that?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Um, so, and yeah, stay neutral and escape when you can. I understand that, Cece, and I'm learning. And what's beautiful about social media is you have a chance to become a better person
Hmm.
through those interactions, those
Absolutely.
non face to face
Yeah.
interactions. It's very impersonal. And I all of a sudden I realized that we were friends in grade school. That was 60 plus years ago.
Ah,
That was our only connection.
right.
And I'm like, well, today I don't need that connection anymore. I don't
Yeah.
want that connection anymore because we're different. We're on different paths.
Yeah.
And so I don't only angry people. And this is someone who proclaims that they are an animal lover. And listen, love is love. If love is in your heart, you're not going to be conditional about it. Like, okay, I love this over here. I love animals, but I don't love people. Well, if there's true love within your heart, you're not going to talk like that.
Right. But that's her business, and the wonder of
Yes, it is.
this ever
Yes.
expanding universe is that, in fact, that is almost confirmation for you, right? Of being part of this ever expanding universe and realizing that we aren't even limited to the friends that we knew 60 plus years ago. I mean, imagine, a couple hundred years ago, the community that you grew up with was pretty much the community you were going to know for the rest of your life.
Your
you
life,
know
yeah.
and now we are part of like a much bigger consciousness where we actually have like the freedom to change our environment, meaning we can choose not to associate with people who are no longer in that vibrational
Mhm.
range that you're now traveling in, you know
Right,
and if
right.
if if she wants to limit herself to only interacting with animals, then you know peace be with you, good luck with that. I'm sure that there are going to be a few stumbles along the way, but like in
And you
your
know what?
case, you're kind of like sifting and sorting
Yes.
through the options that you have available to you.
Ex yes, yes, and in the past 6 months, it just seems to be a more conscious effort on my part.
Yeah,
I wanna be mindful of the people I'm allowing to influence me,
yeah.
you
And
know,
you're
and
actually
if
getting
it's
the
about
gift of being conscious about
it is a
those
gi
choices.
it is a gift. It is a
It really
gift,
is.
and you know what the beauty about it is I mean, we're all sovereign human beings. We all have free choice. And it feels really good to allow people just to be themselves.
Yeah.
With you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, that's who they are, and I can choose or not to choose in participating with that other individual or group.
Yeah.
It's that simple. It's like,
Yeah.
nope, this isn't what I want.
Yeah.
I want I've declared this many times on this site. My focus is on people who want peace, love, harmony, and abundance in their lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not not conflict creation, not whatever. So the focus is on peace, love, harmony, and abundance.
Yeah.
And that's those are the kind of people I want in my life. That's the kind of person I want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's all that
So
matters.
yeah,
That's all that matters. And the rest of it's interesting because on this trip that I went on, I mean, I was probably on that trip during one of the biggest heat waves, at least across the northern hemisphere.
I would agree.
Um, okay, and I mean, I was seeing it. Not that I watch news, but as you kind of walk around their TVs at like bars and throughout like wherever we were walking in the hotel lobbies and such, and they would talk about this heat wave. And it's true that like people that we would come across, they would complain about the heat and be thankful that they're walking into an air conditioned space. And mind you, in Europe, air conditioning is like it's not like it is in the States.
Oh
It's
wow.
it's just like a few degrees cooler than it is outdoors. But
It's not a polar blast.
no, it's not. No, it's not. And usually it can't keep up because once you start going into like the upper ranges, like hot is hot. And but it's really interesting because you kind of noticed that there were people who would get like angry and irritated and annoyed, and they tended to cluster together
Of
and move
course.
around in clusters, like griping about everything, touring these wonderful ancient cities and such. And then you had the other clusters who were like, there's nothing I can do about this heat wave except drink lots of water, try to
Yeah.
catch some shade. And so we would meet ourselves under trees or like maybe under an umbrella somewhere just to catch some shade, have a few sips of water, maybe laugh about like how ridiculous this is that we're trying to like see something, but always looking for shade instead of like, I don't know, the Acropolis or something. Like, so it was just interesting to kind of witness like the different vibrational aspects of people and how like those vibrations will
Yeah.
attract. And if you allow yourself to get sucked into, like the negative vibrations and the
Yeah.
attitudes about things that you can't change, complaining about the weather, the heat wave, etc.,
Yeah.
you're going to get more of it.
Yeah.
It just will. You're best to just breathe, release, let it go, and maybe opt not to do the tour tomorrow.
Well, change is not easy.
No.
And changing unhealthy and destructive habits is not easy. And it takes a lot of commitment once one realizes, this just has not been working
Yeah.
and then starting to ask why.
Yeah.
It takes whole lifetimes sometimes to
Yeah.
discover and realize that.
Yeah. Change is really, it is an interesting thing, like
Uncomfortable.
we it is uncomfortable. And the funny thing is we want change when things aren't going well, and then when
Yeah.
things are changing, we want them to stay the same. And it's like, well, the change is taking place in response to, like you're going to be in a different place. And, ideally it will be a better place, or at least your perception of that place will be better.
Yeah. In my
So,
in my smoking days, and this was towards the end of it, this was when they started not allowing smoking in buildings.
uh-huh.
We used to be able to sit and smoke all day when they're, at our desks. And then we had to go outside to smoke. And I realized very quickly that the group of us that were huddling out there, everyone was complaining about everything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm just like, I realized one day, I don't want any part of this. I'd rather be alone and ostracized than
Yeah.
participate in this anymore.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
happened. I was ostracized
Yeah.
and I was alone
Yeah.
and I didn't care anymore
Yeah.
because I saw it as a very unhealthy behavior. And
Yeah.
it was just like, oh, it was like being pulled down
Yeah.
when
And
I was trying to,
probably, yeah, sorry I interrupted you. I was just going
no.
to say it's probably more unhealthy than the smoking.
Well,
Just the
yeah.
complaining and griping and finding things wrong with, this, that, the other.
Oh, yeah. It's the things I'm starting to learn about vibration. And I learned about it in I think it was junior high school. I still remember this class. It was a science class. I still remember the teacher talking about nothing is stationary.
Oh,
Nothing is stationary. You see those beams of steel?
yeah.
That's not stationary. There's molecular stuff going on, and it's something's always moving. I
Yes.
remember that lesson. And
Yes.
so now I'm, have widened my exploration of that topic.
Yes.
And back in the 60s, there was this cool song. Maybe it was the Beach Boys. I don't remember, but it was called Good Vibrations.
Oh, yeah. I think it is the
Good
Beach Boys.
vibrations. So these
All of
little
their songs
things,
sound the same.
yeah, yeah. So, now after all this time, I'm not being as distracted by life. Um, I'm I'm starting to connect some dots, and it's like, well, Yeah. I mean, think of the heart. That's a big vibration. We wouldn't be, living if our heart wasn't vibrating
Yeah,
its frequency,
yeah,
because you have to have the blood flowing.
yep. No,
So,
everything, you're right. Everything is emotion. That's quantum physics right
yeah,
there. It's energy.
yeah. And I'm not a scientist. I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be. I'm just sharing what my new perceptions are and how I see them.
Yeah.
Um, and if that piques your interest to learn more about that topic, great. If it doesn't, great.
Breathe, release, let go, and scroll on.
Let people live their lives the way they choose to live them. You don't have to participate. It doesn't,
Yes.
I don't
Just
want to live
scroll
my life that
on.
way. So, okay, goodbye. I hope
Yeah.
all goes well for you. It's
Yeah.
not and there was a time when um I thought, like if there was an earthquake on the other side of the country, somehow I felt responsible because I was thinking bad things about somebody.
Mhm.
And I'm according to I think Greg Braden, maybe they did all these tests years ago about how connected everything is, and they actually took plants and took part of the plant across the country,
Mm.
and then they would do something to stimulate the one plant, and the other plant they electronically measured it, the other plant responded.
Mhm.
It's just amazing. Now if I
Yeah.
could just get a full grasp of the concept of all of this, I don't need to know the scientific facts, I mean, and the formulas and all of that stuff, but
Right.
the concept of it is enough for me to understand
Yeah.
what's going on. And another one, not Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton talks about this all the time.
Uh-huh.
He's a cool guy. He's a cool cat.
So
Um,
basically, like what he talks about is how we're energetically interconnected, or
Bruce Lipton talks about that we are energy. That he talks about the vibrations,
mm-hmm.
and think about it. If you think
Yeah.
about it, if you're feeling hateful towards somebody, if you are aware enough to pay attention to how you physically feel when you're thinking that,
Mm-hmm.
that's probably an off the cuff example that I can think of. And usually, if I'm feeling really negative feelings, I recognize it through my physicality.
Cece just wrote something really
Oh,
funny, and I think it's a great way to close the show. She says, "Now I know who to blame if there's an
no,
earthquake where I live."
I don't think so.
But
You
I
can
mean,
blame you. Oh, never mind. I won't. No, I don't want to do that. Okay.
but actually, it's funny what you said, but truly, we it also says, hey, wait, I actually have agency over the way I feel right this very moment. And I can do something about it. I
Yeah.
can exit the situation. I can
Mhm.
breathe, release, let go, and feel better. And at
Mhm.
least like take my emotional upset up a notch so that I can get some kind of relief from that.
Mhm.
Depending on where you are on the scale of emotions, you're just looking for like that next level of release and relief. And
Mhm.
breathing, releasing, and letting go is one easy way to just do that shift. So
Yeah. Agreed.
awesome topic.
Oh, well, thank you so
Two
much.
thumbs up.
So glad, so glad to have you back. Um,
Glad to be
yeah,
back.
yeah, thank you. And with that's our show for this week. And Cooler Talk with Rhonda and Cynthia. Uh, we don't claim to be professionals, but we do have life experience, and
That's
we love
right.
sharing how we feel about things.
We're professionals at living our lives.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes, I'm a professional in my own life.
I am degreed in living my life, so I'm
For
qualified to speak
sure.
on
Oh,
that.
cool. Well, I think you're yeah, okay. Well, that's it for today. Cece, thanks for joining us. You have a great day too. Cynthia, always a pleasure.
See you next week. A las 9:30 on Eastern Standard Time. Ciao for now.